So it was a rare Monday night. I was minding my own business, just having taken in a show at the Laugh Factory with a friend. Rare for a Monday night, but having done so. And we went back across the street and we dilly-dallied in the pharmacy to buy a couple of things as the crowd emptied out from the Laugh Factory. And as we dilly-dallied, we then made our way down to the bowels of the parking garage where we had originally parked. And come to find out that my friend could not find her parking validation, her parking pass or her parking validation that she had just gotten validated at the CVS in the mini strip mall. So we walked around, and as we walked around, I noticed that it was exceedingly vacant on a Monday night. I mean, even just as the Laugh Factory had gotten out of session, maybe about 10 minutes prior, you'd think that there would still be people fleeing the parking garage. But we walked around, we got to her car, we got in her car, and as we were walking to her car, she kept looking through her purse like, where's my parking pass? Where's my parking validation? I'm sure I'll find it by the time we get to the car. So she looked in her purse, she had another bag, she looked in the other bag. At a certain point, after she had exhausted all possibilities, I saw what looked like a checkbook near her dashboard. So I picked up the checkbook. And I said, hey, is it in here? And she flipped through the checkbook and she's like, no, it's not there. I didn't see anything under the checkbook. I didn't see anything around the checkbook. So she got out. We were going to go back upstairs. And then, for whatever reason, I looked at the checkbook again. I picked it up off the dashboard. I looked in the checkbook again. And there, right underneath the checkbook, was her parking pass, her parking validation. And we hadn't seen it before, and we looked at it thoroughly because we were desperate. It was Monday. We wanted to get home. And as soon as we found her parking pass underneath the checkbook, all of a sudden, I noticed a car go by, and then another. And then a couple more, and all of a sudden they were all exiting the parking garage. And the weird thing was we had barely seen any cars even when we went down there. We hadn't seen a single soul. And right when that happened, the sound of the parking garage changed, and just the feeling inside the parking garage changed. And I said to her, this is going to sound really weird, but I feel like we're not in Kansas anymore. I feel like something shifted, something flipped from between the time that we found the parking pass and all the time before that, as soon as we descended down in the parking garage and we did not have your parking pass. And then, upon having come across some more parking garages and some other emptier parking garages on a busy Saturday, it just dawned on me, there's just something eerie about it. An empty parking garage on a busy Saturday. So I'd come across at least one more of these things, which is the video you saw at the beginning of this entire video story, and it started reminding me of something else. Backrooms, and the movie that had just come out. In other words, I discovered this parking garage as a parallel universe as soon as the movie Backrooms came out, which is really weird. But the thing of it is I did not know anything about the movie Backrooms until probably a few weeks later after this happened. But it was just so totally bizarre because I told my friend, I was like, I feel totally different all of a sudden now that the parking garage is hustling and bustling and there are people in here and we found your parking pass. And also, it's very unusual for my friend just to lose things. She's very responsible with things, and she just wouldn't have done that because she's been getting parking validation all her life and it's very important to her. So then I looked into the whole parking garage sort of parallel universe type thing as a backroom, and I looked more into backrooms because I still haven't seen the movie yet, and the backroom concept is new to me, but it kind of all adds up. And then on top of it all, only to discover that totally vacant parking garage about 2 weeks later on a busy, hustling, bustling Saturday in the Hollywood and Highland shopping mall. And not only that, and on top of it all, come to find out that parking garages and backrooms kind of figure into each other. So for those of you who don't know and haven't looked it up on Wikipedia or aren't big gamers, Backrooms is a fictional location invented in a 2019 thread on the image board website 4chan. The backrooms are usually portrayed as an impossibly large, extra-dimensional complex of empty rooms accessed by exiting reality. They are one of the best-known examples of the liminal space aesthetic and the creepypasta genre. Liminal space. When I heard that, I knew the word, but liminal space just means a transition space while you're walking from one area to another, or going or journeying from one area to another. And they can encompass all sorts of different realms and aesthetics, although the back room seems to me to be pretty sparse. And it actually is funny because to me it looks like it could be just an office space, but just with no desks. So to me it looks like more than just a liminal space, but I guess if there are no desks and no accoutrements there, it would be a liminal space. That being said, the idea started with an anonymous interpretation of a photo showing a large empty room with an uncomfortably yellow atmosphere. The photo was taken in 2002 at the former site of an Oshkosh, Wisconsin furniture store. So this was when the new owners were renovating, and it had just been posted on the store's blog, and it really caught some people's attention, although nobody found it until later on in 2024. So that whole feeling of a liminal vacant space kind of goes along with a trend that I've been seeing on a lot of YouTube videos. These videos are called scenescapes, at least that's what I call them. And I have whole lists of these types of scenescapes. That's just one scene with either music in the background or sounds of nature. Most of the most of the scenescapes that I have, or most of the lists that I have, are of nature and rain, summer, winter, fall, that kind of thing. But I do have a singular list of scenescapes of man-made places and things. And the feeling that I get from these is so much the same kind of feeling that I get from the concept of the back rooms, and also the same kind of feeling that I got from that vacant parking garage, that I kind of didn't put the two and two together until I even started making this video. That being said, it's all kind of eerie and ominous. This scenescape is called Forever 3 a.m., and they all just seem kind of melancholy and sort of staticky, kind of like sad, long-lost vestiges of a century and decades past that are no longer with us, that we could never get back to even if we tried. I mean, time travel be damned, it's just the whole feeling of it. It is as though it is all in a parallel universe through static. But it's kind of like that static that, I don't know if any of you guys were around in the 80s, but I remember going into women's clothing stores and they would have all these music videos playing on big TVs, big clunky TVs above the store, and they would have just the worst reception and feedback. It's like whatever VCRs they were playing them in or whatever videos they were, it would just have all these tracking problems. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but it almost looked as though you were looking forward in time to these types of videos, telling you were never going to get to reconnect with the 20th or 21st century due to, I don't know what, AI, some kind of rift in the time-space continuum, some kind of rift in reality, like we all thought happened because of the Mandela effect. Remember when they had fountains in malls? That was so crazy. Or when you'd go out in the middle of the mall between all the stores, and I just remember in the 70s going out in the middle of the stores in the mall and it being totally dark, like the hallway, the liminal space in the mall, and it being totally dark and the fountains being lit up. And you can never get that back. And of course, this would have been the 1970s mall type of aesthetic, but kind of combined with the other one. But back to the backrooms as inspired by or because of those other things and other liminal spaces. As per Wikipedia, Internet writers have expanded on the concept, introducing concepts such as levels, interconnected layers of backroom, with different appearances, the entities, the hostile creatures that roam these spaces. Fans have adapted both the classical and expanded settings into video games and short films. In early 2022, American YouTuber Kane Parsons published the first installment in his series Backroom Short. In a series of Backroom short films on YouTube, ultimately amounting to a web series of 24 official episodes. The viral videos have been credited with igniting a surge in Backrooms content and taking the concepts to mainstream. Parsons directed a film adaptation of a series produced by A24, which was released in May 2026. And ever since I did find out about that movie, I did want to see it. History. Original creepypasta. On May 12, 2019, an anonymous user started a thread on x/4chan's paranormal-themed board asking users to post disquieting images that just feel off, accompanying the thread with a photograph. Another user replied to this post, giving an image to its name and supplying the first description of Backrooms. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in Backrooms where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. And if you're wondering what no-clip mode is, it's a cheat that allows players to pass through normally impenetrable objects, walls, ceilings, and floors by disabling clipping. Growth in fandom. In the days following the original creepypasta, writers began to share stories about the backrooms on subreddits such as Creepypasta and later our Backrooms. A fandom was developing around the setting, and creators expanded upon its original iteration by imagining additional floors, levels, and the dangerous entities which populate them. Layering. This is good. As new levels devised in r/backrooms, a faction of fans who preferred the original Backrooms split off from the fandom. A Reddit user named Litbeep created another subreddit called r/true Backrooms, focusing only on the original version. Okay, so that gets more into the nitty gritty. But then you see this picture here, down on the far right-hand side. Many adaptations of the Backrooms include other areas or floors called levels. Pictured here are level 1, which appears to be a parking garage, and level 2, a maintenance tunnel, respectively. And ding, 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 we're all back full circle. Other than that, the three alternate things that the liminal space aspect reminds me of are the movie Langoliers, based on an original book by Stephen King, wherein 10 people fall asleep on a plane and everyone else who's awake disappears, leaving only like implants and pacemakers sitting on the seats where they were originally seated. And instead of flying from Los Angeles to Boston, which doesn't that sound familiar? That's like 9/11. That's the flight route of 9/11, only in the reverse. They land in Maine. And they land in this world where everything is exactly the same, except there's nobody there, and matches do not light, sounds do not echo, and food tastes like nothing. So eventually it's discovered that they're in a parallel universe, but they're like maybe a few minutes ahead or behind, and eventually they do see people, but it's really creepy, and it involves time slips and essentially like monsters who handle time and parallel universes, and I'm probably totally making mistakes here, but I remember it was really good. But it's so weird because when I first thought of the Langoliers again, I thought of it as having aired in 1989 when I was still living in Massachusetts, but it turns out it aired in 1995, and now I feel like I have memories of both, because both seemed correct, but 1989 seemed correct at first. But now the more I think of it, the more I remember living in my apartment out in California. So anyway, so that's the first thing that the liminal space aspect reminds me of. The second thing is, of course, and this gets a little more, or I should say less liminal spacey in the sense that it's a cityscape. But, of course, vanilla sky. And the third would, of course, be the guy who woke up during the pandemic in the year 2027, just walking empty streets constantly, saying he lived in Valencia, Spain, and basically he just kept posting these videos on the internet where there was nobody around. And I looked for anything to debunk this online, and I couldn't find anything so far, which is not to say that it couldn't be debunked, and which is not to say that there couldn't be like basic video tools that could erase other people. And I think I have seen people say, oh, I think I saw a person way in the background or something, or someone in the sky, but so far I have not seen it, and I have not seen any birds, as they say. So in any case, that's sort of what those remind me of. They're sort of all in keeping of a theme. And who knows? I mean, I think it's really interesting, albeit distressing, but very interesting, as is or was the creepy parking garage. Anyway, that's it, guys. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you know. I will get to Mall World because I just saw a video in my newsfeed about it. So I do need to get to Mall World because somebody told me I need to investigate that. And peace out.